Alright, time to do the worst episodes of MOP Season 5. Alright, TV, show me the listing of the episodes that I picked. Hello there, everypony. This is Mark, aka the Wolf Pony, and I'm here to do another top list, and this time it's the top 5 worst episodes of Season 5. Now, with this season being over for a while now, it's time to count down what I think is the worst episode of the entire season, in my opinion. If you like any of these episodes, including number 1, that is fine. I will admit that this season really is a weird one, but when it drops the bomb, holy shit did they really drop the bomb, and I've never felt this way since Season 2. The show is drastically changing, which is good, but let's go and see what are the 5 failures that earns the spot here. Slice of life. Please hear me out before you start shooting at me. Let me just say that I do see why the fans love this episode. First off, it's the one episode that shows out the background characters and their personalities. A lot of us actually wanted this because of how much they appear in the background and in the foreground. This episode showed potential on how these background characters could be using their own spotlight down the road if they play their cards right. It's also very entertaining throughout the runtime, so I never got bored with it. The music we got from the 2 most well-respected musicians is just a sight to hear and watch. That is teamwork right there, folks. Plus, the biggest positive for this episode is how the writers know the fans still support the show, and decided to thank us for keeping it alive throughout the 5 years of amazing characters as well as the world they live in. This also goes hand to hand with the moral it gave us.
It's not just the main characters in our stories that make life so rich. It's every pony. Those who play big parts, and those who play small.
Unfortunately, this episode has a boatload of problems. First is the story is pretty much so awkward. The pacing is all over the place on what it wants to focus because of all the characters that wanted a few seconds of screen time. There are so many things that the episode tries to focus on that it kinda got lost in the story that it's trying to tell. Yeah, it's a wedding, but they kinda forgotten about it during half of its runtime. Characterization, while nice, some I really don't understand. Like, why is Big Lebowski here? They kinda dragged on with Doctor Who's for a while, and it kinda ruins the joke when they first appeared. Then there's Bon Bon. From what I researched, Larson wanted to do this as a counter to the Lyra human obsession. Honestly, it came out of nowhere. I am interested on who she is working for, but until then, it's pretty stupid. Well, not as stupid as Gummy's monologue moment, but it's still pretty close. Then there's the fan pandering, as people call it. Now, I don't think it fully focused on that, but, however, it is still a problem because here's the thing. My Little Pony throughout its run has always given us good stories throughout its entire lifespan. This is what the show stands for ever since Foss took charge when it was first aired. The episode represents everything that I don't want the show to be like because it will lose the charm that it once had. I'm not saying that it lost it as it's still getting better as it goes on, but an episode like this kinda makes me worried if it does go this route because fans wanted it. I want the writers to focus on writing the stories they wanted to do. That is why I'm a brony in the first place. Now, it's fine if you like it. I, however, didn't got much out of it, but hey, this is only number 5 of the list and I enjoyed this far more than the 4 episodes down the road. Okay, I explained my position. Now you won't shoot me? Why did I even ask? Yape! Thanks for the memories. Okay, this episode was honestly one of the most awkward experiences I've ever had. Now let's get going on what the episode does good, alright? First off, I like the representation of the theme it had. No, I'm not talking about death, but I can see why people have said that. I'm more on thinking that this episode tells a hard lesson on how kids need to accept that the people that they like will go away for a while. It might be weeks, months, or even years, but you still remember the fun times you had. Hell, I went through this when my cousins left for Texas a few years back. I still have fond memories of sitting around in the couch playing GameCube games with them. This episode sorta did a good job on that, and I have a high respect for the writer to do this. Another positive is showing how much Rainbow Dash cares for Tank, which we finally got it, and it's so adorable! Plus, we get the first Rainbow Dash solo song, and despite some odd lyrics, it's really good. That and the references this episode does, which I didn't notice the first time viewing, are really hilarious. Now on to the major problems I found in this episode. First off, Cindy Morrow kinda shows why I don't like her writing that much. She tends to work off only on one element, and that is it. Now, she has made some good episodes doing this, like Hurricane Fluttershy, but then there are the ones where they tend to focus on the so cringy and off-putting, like this episode. This is a Rainbow Dash overreaction episode, and honestly, it wasn't that good. Mostly because I dislike Dash when she is like this, and I know Mare-Duel did that as well, but here it honestly didn't do it for me. Especially when she got away scot-free destroying the factory. Luckily, no one was hurt, but still, forgetting what she did is kind of very awkward. A simple line of dialogue of her getting yelled at from her boss would have been nice. So yeah, it's not a good episode, but I can at least respect what it tries to do. Just avoid talking about this episode in certain parts of the fandom. It will save you some brain cells. The one where Pinkie knows. Okay, what is it with Pinkie Pie this season? No, I'm not saying that I think she sucks as a character now. Oh no, it's more on how her episodes just really didn't have the quality I expect from her. This is the first one on the Choppy blog, and I'll tell you why. Okay, this episode revolves around one joke, and that is it. I'm not kidding, people. I mean, really, what the hell were they thinking on this? I can understand if they have variations on the joke, but they didn't, and it just becomes annoying rather than funny. Unfortunately, this is what the episode entirely focused on, as they mention the baby that will be coming out soon. Honestly, it fails on a simplistic level because of that. Not to mention that this is kinda already done with Green Is In Your Color, and boy do you know how I feel about that episode. Finally, the biggest nail in the coffin will be that there's no progression on this. I feel that it keeps going around in circles because Pinkie Pie keeps starting at the same exact place over and over and over and over. Come on guys, Pinkie deserves to be in better episodes than this. Now, there are some things that I like in this episode. One is that I like the idea of the baby coming in soon. Honestly, I expect the baby to come in at around season 4, but better late than never. Shining Armor got a little more character, and it's honestly refreshing to see that. That one scene pretty much sums up a lot to him than just being the token brother. Now, if only Cadence gets more scenes like this. Plus, while the main joke just sucks, all the other little jokes that we get are at least funny and memorable. So yeah, this episode is honestly very underwhelming for a Pinkie episode, but at least it's not like the next one, which is just worse. Party pooped. Dear sweet Celestia, what the fuck happened here? Okay, let's go down on what the major problems that this episode has. First off, it's the humor. This episode has one of the most unfunniest, cringiest humor that I've ever heard of the entire show. Some of them don't really make me chuckle, and others just make me think why the writers didn't bother to fix them at all. Seriously, Twilight being scared of quesadillas? I know it may sound like I'm nitpicking, but the joke doesn't really fit within the character from all the seasons before, and that is what's bothering me. Oh, but that is only one of the major problems of this episode. The other is those fucking yaks. Seriously, this is what I call SJW incarnate within the show, as it pretty much likes to remind us of how everything must go perfectly, and they will be pleased. I understand part of their anger about it, since you cannot just be careful on what is racist or not, but dear sweet Celestia, are they annoying when they are angry. This led to a lot of torture of the main cast, which is heavily undeserved for the most part. This is just so mean-spirited that it just makes it more unwatchable with the slap-in happy ending despite what the yaks did. Yeah, let's share cultures despite the fact that the yaks have destroyed half of our property.
Bullshit!
The only positive thing I could say is that it explains how Pinkie Pie remembers all the names and what they like and dislike. One of the many mysteries of Pinkie Pie has been solved, but my god is this episode just horrible. But you know what? I'd rather watch this over the next one, which is not only insulting to me, but to all of the MOP franchise brand. That episode is... Princess Motherfucking Spike.
Well,
That was a pleasant episode.
Yeah, it sure is very interesting for a Spike episode.
Gee, that Spike episode sure was awful. I'd be hard-pressed to find anything so shit in my whole life.
Guys, I need you to get out of my room. Now!
Run, boys! He's gonna blow!
You really need to control your temper, man.
I know! Fuck this episode! Fuck it to hell! Fuck it to damnation of all kind! I cannot believe that we are back here again! Okay, there is a saying in the fandom that Spike never gets a good episode within this show. I don't find that entirely true. Yes, most episodes he is in had a lot of writing problems, but however, when Season 4 started, things are turning up better for Spike within the analyzing and reviewing community. While I didn't enjoy Power Ponies as much, Inspiration Manifestation and Equestria games are the best in showing that Spike can be in the most loved episodes. Well, sort of with Equestria games, but that is an entirely different can of worms. Then they just drop everything for this. Let's go over the fact that it uses the same plot as the previous Spike episodes before, only this time it's done a lot worse. Everybody shits on him a lot, and it's made more obvious of how one specifically said that dragons have no saying. Yeah, it's going down in that path. The other major problem I have is how contrived this episode is, and it's not in a good way. This is written by the same person who has worked on Johnny Test, and oh boy does it show. This episode just focused on trying to screw up Spike at its worst, and it's just really cringy to watch. This is not a good first impression on your writing skills. Cadence is honestly the worst part about this, as she just seems to be more of an asshole than a figure to Spike to follow. She always tells him to always be careful despite the fact that he is. But the episode doesn't allow that, so they have to ruin it for him to make her look good. That is how bad it is. Speaking of which, they didn't give her much character again, which I shouldn't be surprised at this point. Unless you count her being an asshole as one. To top it all off, this ends up being Spike torture porn at its finest. Spike at Your Service was the first to be labeled as one, but at least that had a lot of nice things to say about it. This right here doesn't have a single positive thing I could say. Oh wait, it made Spike contented again just like before, only except everything else is garbage, so it pretty much undermines it. After the two amazing Spike episodes, in my honest opinion, we come down to this. A poorly written, insulting, unfunny mess of an episode that continues the train of thought of Spike sucks and should be killed off the show. Oh, Spike, I really hope you get out of this trend very soon. Well, those are my top 5 worst episodes of Season 5. These may have been the stinkers of the group, but that doesn't change the fact that there are some really good episodes in this season. That will be the next list, people, so stay tuned. This is Mark, aka The Wolf Pony, and I hope the next day will be even better. See ya!